Thank you, everybody, for joining to this webinar series, which we are trying to do every month, at least one webinar. And today's topic is design thinking. Today's webinar has been brought to you by bigdatatrunk, part of bigdatatrunk. My name is Raju Srivastava. bigdatatrunk is a professional training services company based out in US Bay Area, California. Founded in 2008, we provide technology and business skills, soft skills, if you were to say, trainings, and there are various categories, mostly cutting edge technology in terms of AI, data, DevOps, which we provide along with leadership and soft skills. Today's topic is inclined towards leadership and soft skills. So these are several different training programs which we have. Mehul, the speaker, is one of the leading speakers and trainers on our team, providing trainings on several of these business skills. Several parts of the world he has been doing that. So that's a focus topic, but if you wanted to get a little more details, you could look at that. Mehul has a very versatile personality. He is corporate behavioral trainer, done hundreds of different trainings to around 50,000 plus people around the world. He is an author, published author for several different entrepreneurship books on startups and entrepreneurship. And also, interestingly, he's a filmmaker, so very versatile experience and background. So happy to have him present to the team and be part of this webinar. So with that, I'm going to transfer it over to Mehul. Mehul, so I'll stop the share. Feel free to share the screen and take it over.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Raju. A very good evening, good afternoon to everybody, depending on what time zone you belong to. So it's a pleasure to be here and talking to all of you. That was very kind enough of you, Raju, to give that explicit, kind introduction. So friends, a warm welcome to all of you and myself, Mehul Daruka. And like I said, it's a pleasure to be here and speaking to all of you. Now, today, we have this design thinking and creative thinking webinar that we are about to begin. And I really appreciate and, really admire that you guys are here and, you're taking keen interest in going through this kind of a webinar. Now, without much ado, because since we have paucity of time, there is an hour that we have together, and I'll try my best to decode this concept for us and see where we are. So the reason we all are here, I assume, is, the concept of design thinking has been doing the round since a while now. And because technology has advanced and things have become so robust and it has become so much into us these days that, everything is now going to be challenging the status quo that we live by. So when I say this, it means simply about trying to understand of what can we do differently in order to accomplish the goals that we have set out for ourselves. With each year that passes by, things have become much more rapid. They have become much more intense. And of course, there's competition all around us. Earlier, back in the days, we used to be competing with each other in our own domain, in our own kind of geographical area, other than the expertise that we own. But now with the changing times, of course, the times have become global. There's a lot of globalization, industrialization that has happened. And there are a lot of new professions, new functions, new departments, new responsibilities that have emerged with the changing times. So when these kind of rapid things happen and when the world around us is changing so fast, it is obvious that we also rise up to the level of competition that is there around us. We rise up to the new opportunities, the new challenges. And when I say challenges, of course, we all understand and we know this, that challenges bring in opportunities, So how do you go about capturing them? How do you go about ensuring that things do fall in place and we kind of keep moving with the times, we keep doing better, we, kind of have a new version to ourselves, we keep revamping ourselves. So this hour, I'll try to decode and see what best we can do, because of course, it's a huge topic that is there with us today. But like I said, there is no harm in understanding and having an overview of this beautiful concept. So today we're going to try and see what design thinking is, what are the strategies that go behind design thinking, a kind of an overview of design thinking. What is creative thinking? Is it something different than what design thinking is? And what importance do these carry? Now, to begin this particular webinar, let's dwell into what exactly is design thinking. Now, friends, of course, the chat window is open, so you're most welcome to express yourself there. And if you have any question, please do, don't shy away from putting it over there. And like Raju has said, we will have a Q&A. So whatever best we can make use of this time, we will. But in my own opinion, in my own layman, if I have to look at it, look at the concept of design thinking as a layman, I strongly feel that design thinking is a very non-linear iterative process that teams up to understand, it helps the teams to understand the users, the challenges, it redefines problems, it creates innovative solutions to prototype and test. So it is not necessarily that you are only dealing with a tech product. It's not necessary, because the general perception that I see around, especially when I conduct these kind of classes and when I see around people asking me, that how do I go about making that kind of a software or making that kind of a tech product, or, how do I incorporate AI? How can design thinking help me in that? So the basic fundamental thing that one needs to understand is that design thinking is not only about tech products or tech services or technology. It's the approach that you carry. It's an approach that you build. It is something that you want to do in order to accomplish, like I said a minute back. So that is where the design thinking aspect comes. It's about your way of looking at things. Now, let me give you a simple example. When we are trying to, for example, we have a fitness goal and we want to accomplish something. Now, when you have a fitness goal, I'm sure you all will agree with me that no matter how much time I spend in the gym, no matter how much time I spend going up the mountains or doing whatever it takes to kind of build my endurance, it will not really give me the result if I do not change other aspects of my lifestyle as well. As simple as my food habits, my sleep habits, my overall lifestyle, the way I think, the way my mindset is, the positive attitude that I should carry, and things like that. So all of these things put together definitely gives you that result. For you ask an athlete, you ask somebody who's fitness defined, you ask somebody who needs to do that, this will be a common stand that they will take, that yes, we need to be in a certain space wherein a combination of all these things will aid my fitness goals. Similarly, when we are doing any kind of work, we may be coming from any walk of life. We could be an engineer, we could be an IT professional, we could be an administrator, we could be an event manager, we may be anything. Our profession may demand us to do anything. The common thing that is there consistently in every profession is about you being able to perform, you being able to think out of the box. And that is where design thinking aids and helps. It's the approach that you need to build. It's the way that you need to take forward and then become better at what you're trying to do. Like any new skill that you learn or any new thing that you do, it's always going to be challenging in terms of accepting or following the new process, making it a habit and then getting on to work. So these things become a little challenging at the first go because there is something new that you're doing. This is something that you probably have not done earlier. So it takes a while. But when you start doing it, you get into the scheme of things, you start working around it, you start building your skill set around that, it definitely starts coming organically to you the next time you start doing something. So design thinking is that process that acknowledges that there isn't any one way to solve a problem. There could be multiple ways. It's just about being in that moment and feeling that. Now, when I talk about approach, when I talk about that, okay, this is how I should do, and this is the way I should do. So what is that way? What is it that I as a professional or as an individual, I need to think so that I can continue doing what I can continue, and how better can I do? So the first thing that I generally relate and talk to people about is empathizing. This is a process that is defined for design thinking, that understanding your users or understanding your people as clearly as possible and empathize with them. Now, we all know what empathy means. It's keeping ourselves in their position and thinking that, okay, this is what challenges they are facing. These are the things that they are concerned about. If I do not address those challenges, those problems, those needs, it may not really make sense to them. So if I look at a customer, many of you may be dealing with your customers and you may be having a face off with them and trying to understand of what they are. But sometimes we get lost into the formality of processes, we get lost into the formality of other things. But when I actually step down and see that, okay, where is the root cause? What is it that is bothering them? How can I really rectify things for them? And that's where the concept of empathy comes in, understanding their problems. It is as simple as that. We cannot be staying in a bubble. We cannot be assuming things. Like if I'm a sales professional, I'm selling a certain product. I know my product is good. I know my company is good. I know the service that it will deliver is good, which is nice, which is great. You know, you are a perfect professional because you realize the importance of your product. But is that enough? Will my product actually solve that exact problem that my customer is having? Maybe he is not educated enough to understand what your product will do. Maybe he is not aware enough to understand what your product will do. Or he understands these two things, but then he doesn't know the real application of how it could add value to his life. So these are the things that I start thinking, I start believing, I start working on, I start communicating with my customer and understand, break it down for him, break it down for myself, so that together we can make things happen. This is a very important thing, and we must realize that empathy goes a long way. Once you have understood those problems, it is about defining those problems that needs to be sorted and bring out a lot of possible solutions. Now, when I have a problem in front of me, I have defined that, okay, this is where we are. This is what is challenging us, and this is how we need to tackle this. Then I get down to the solutions. What can I do? So point A, I may be able to do this for you. But if this does not work, point B, this probably could be another solution. Point C. Now we have to put ourselves in that space, in that zone where we can alternate solutions. We can figure out what to do. We can talk it out with the customer, see what works best for him, and trying to basically get around, wrap around things, wrap your things around your head and understand that, okay, these are few solutions that probably I can suggest to my customer or the stakeholder, whoever it is. The third important step in this is about ideating, that is channeling your focus on the final outcomes, not the present constraints. That is very, very important. You need to constantly focus on what do I need, what is my objective, that, okay, this is something. So for example, I'm selling a technology product, let's say, and this is a particular website. I'm a website making company, and I want to serve my customer. He is into multiple scales of businesses. Maybe he is into retail, and he is into some kind of other e-commerce businesses as well. Now he wants to bring that entire thing on one platform, and he wants to segregate his product, need wise, use wise, and maybe the geography wise. So how do I go about doing that? The final outcome is he wants to put everything together in a way that makes my customer, it becomes easier for them to just choose which location they belong to, what products they can access to, what kind of timelines can they anticipate in terms of getting their products in time, and what is the payment mode, and how can they easily, conveniently shop on my platform and get going. So that is the user friendliness that my customer is looking for. Now, if that is what the need is, and I'm trying to work around the aesthetics with the customer, that let's make this beautiful, let's make that convenient, let's make this admirable, or something that people are attracted to. So that may not really work, because that's not what his business need is. His business need is convenience. So we need to understand that let me focus my energies on the outcome that he is looking at. And once I'm able to do that, let me work around the constraints and not just get lost in the constraints. So I may be having 10 constraints. I may not be having the resources at the moment to kind of provide him that. But once I understand the need, I can then gather the resources and see whether this is in my scope of work. And if yes, I should gather those resources and get things going. That is very, very important to understand. Many a times, it's been 24 years now, I have this work experience behind me, and I have been to most of the organizations. I have been fortunate to talk to a lot of people, right from the the entry level managers to the senior level managers, the titles that they carry, pertaining to that, the most senior people in the companies I have interacted with. And this is one very common thing that comes across as a challenge for many of us, is that, we sell most of the time, more often than desired, we fall into the trap of not understanding where the problem is. And there, that is where things start crumbling, and this is where we need to step up. We need to really be alert and alarmed that, okay, these are the things that I need to work around. Let me focus my energies on that. Once you have these things, so first thing, empathizing, understanding what your users or your customers or anybody that you're serving are actually looking for, defining that problem, trying to understand that what could be the possible solutions that I can bring around, ideating about what is it that I can put my focus on to achieve that outcome. That, okay, this is the problem now. Now, how can I get around this? How can I overcome the constraints or the barriers that I may be facing? And finally, the fourth step is using your prototype to explore the possible solutions. Now, when you are on the, let's take a hypothetical example that it's on a drawing board. You have your website sketched out, and there's the sketching and wireframing that you have done, wherein you have put everything up together. You have divided the thing appropriately, but you're not sure whether or not this will work. So we can probably develop a prototype, which, as it is happens in the world of technology, as it is happens. So why can't I develop a prototype, explore the possible solutions, and see which really works and which does not? Because then I put that to test. I'm testing, I'm putting it across to the customer that, hey, you know what, these are the 3 prototypes that we have created. Let's see which really works and improvises your solution. And it helps you accomplish the goal. So if they have 3 prototypes in front of them, for example, they go through each one of them. There is a certain experience that they gain out of each one of it. And then they select one which is closest to their vision. And then you start working on it. You start preparing for it. You start putting in more value to it so that it becomes the thing that they are looking at. So this is an important process that we need to do. Like I said, friends, in the beginning, of course, I'm not saying we don't do this. We must definitely be doing that. It's only about putting a structure to your approach. It's about putting a thought to your approach that, hey, you know what? I have been doing this since many, many years now. What if I just sit back and do this in a different way? That is the very fundamental thing in design thinking, changing or reprogramming your approach towards a certain thing. It's about not assuming that whatever I have been doing has been the best thing that I have done. Let me not change it. It's what it is, but that's not the truth. We always have to keep renovating ourselves, reinventing the wheel, trying to go about seeing what best or what better can I do. And that's where this entire process comes. So anytime you're approaching a certain situation, if you take these things as one by one, as a step to kind of go and see and do and act, I'm sure it's going to give yourself a very surprising outcome, which is the change that you notice, the value add that you notice, the plus value that you notice. Now, here I would like to give a couple of good examples which have really, incorporated design thinking as their motto, and they have really achieved great results. We all know Netflix. We are all crazy about Netflix. Now, has anyone ever thought what has been the real success factor behind Netflix? In the world of digital era, where everywhere we have content, there is so much content around us. There are so many platforms that are providing that content. Why has Netflix thrived? So one of the reasons for them has been their innovation that they have carried out over the years. Now, for example, when the company realized that the DVDs were something that had become outdated, it created an on-demand streaming service to stay ahead of the curve. This helped them to eliminate any kind of inconvenience that people had in order to wait for a DVD. And that is where their innovation came in place, their new thoughts, new ways of getting the data across or getting the content across to people really worked in their favor, because they saw there was a challenge. They saw in that challenge, they also realized there is an opportunity. But they didn't stop there. After once they had what they did in 2011, Netflix took to design thinking, that is a one step further, and responded to various customer needs for their original provocative content that wasn't airing, on traditional networks, because they had their limitations, they had their restrictions, or whatever may be the reason. So they saw a huge opportunity lying there, that okay, this is something that we need to really work on. This could be something that can really give us the needed boost that we are looking for. And once they could accomplish that in 2016, it improved its user experience, and they started adding trailers, which we all see on Netflix. And each of Netflix major updates was in response to customers' needs and driven by an effective design thinking process, that what better can I give them? What better can I do for them? How can I improve their experience? How can I become better and start doing, give them what they probably may not expect? So let me delight them, not only satisfy my customers, but delight my customers. So that was a part of their design thinking. Now, they could have turned out to be any typical digital platform wherein they are providing content which is available everywhere, or they are providing content which is a common thing which we are seeing on various platforms. But here they chose to step up and see what different kind of things and content can I provide. Is there something that is not aired generally? So can I air that on my platform? And that kind of an approach helped them understand. So that focus was there, which I was explaining in that the ideation, which I spoke about in the steps of my design thinking process as we just went through. They ideated, they tried to understand, they tried to create a prototype. The prototype succeeded. They went on putting it as a complete final product in front of people. So this is how they utilized the services, or I should say the concept of design thinking, to better things for their customers. The second example that I would want to give is about the popular Airbnb. Now, we all know today Airbnb is a household name, but very few people know that Airbnb was started by only making $200 a week. And after some observation, the founders of Airbnb, they recognized that the advertising pictures that the hosts were putting up weren't of high quality. That was not something that the customers were liking, and it kind of deterred them to come and rent a room in Airbnb. Now they saw this as the root cause problem. So they defined the problem that, okay, this is what is the thing. So how do we ideate around it? So the ideation that they went around doing was they spent time traveling to each location. They were looking for how do customers really look for an Airbnb, because they want to have a temporary place to stay, and they wanted something that is high quality and good stuff in that 1-2 days, whatever they stay back at an Airbnb. They want things to be good, and because they want things to be good, they need high resolution camera which can take pictures, and which can the customers can see and kind of get an idea of what that place would be. So showing every room rather than a select few, listing special features like a hot tub or a pool in the description, and highlighting the neighborhood or the areas around the residence. So all of these put together, it gave them a greater result of how this property or how this Airbnb would be. And the result was the jump in revenues. Like you see here, it just doubled. So instead of focusing on reaching a bigger audience, they decided that let me use my design thinking to determine why the existing customers or audiences wasn't utilizing their services. And when they realized the reason behind it, which was not a big deal, they immediately rectified it, and it helped them to scale up their business. So here, generally what happens is people tend to not look into these smaller things. They may overlook them, or they may not really be serious about them. And that is where design thinking comes in place, friends, because it allows you to break down your each segment, think about it that, okay, these are the areas that probably we need improvement on. These are the areas where the customer is probably showing some concern. I need to address them. But if I don't really break it down, I may never get to them. And that is the whole point, that I need to get to them effectively so that I can resolve those challenges, resolve those problems, get them the things that they probably are looking at. And thinking from the customer standpoint, empathy, thinking from the customer standpoint that, you know what, if I have to rent out a place, I may need so and so things. I may need this kind of a luxury or necessity, or what are the areas around? Where will I be put up? Would that be something which is well connected? So all those questions that the travelers had, he resolved all those questions with putting up that kind of information on their Airbnb ads, and that really worked in their favor, and that helped them double up their revenues. So this is where you have to also break it down for your customers, for your stakeholders, for your people, whoever they may be. It's about breaking it down, understanding, adopting this process of empathizing and defining and ideating and putting your focus, and then developing the prototype and finally testing it so that you know what you have done. So if you have carried each step effectively with all the efficiency that you may have, you will definitely get a value add. And it's a constant learning curve, friends, because once I do that process, I gain something. Then when I'm again trying to add value to it, I do that process again. So it's an ever learning thing, and it's always going to keep you on your toes, because it will help you reinvent yourself, reinvent the process, reinvent the experience for the customers or for anybody, like I said. So that is something that I need to inculcate as a strong approach in myself, that yes, this is how I do it. I could be an individual, I could be an organization, I could be a function, I could be a department, I could be anyone. The essential thing is I need to start building my approach in that way. Now, if I do that, how does it help? This is okay. We saw the examples of Netflix and we saw the example of Airbnb. It has tremendously helped them. And there are many such companies. Of course, I had to take only a couple of examples, but there are many such companies, organizations, platforms which have benefited. Now, what it does, how does it help in tackling the creative challenge? So whenever you have a creative challenge, the first benefit you get it helps you in tackling that. It gives you an opportunity to look at problems from a very different perspective. That fair enough, this is what in front of me. Now let me sit down, brainstorm with it, maybe talk to a couple of people. And when we start doing this kind of a discussion, when we get into a space where we can talk, discuss, analyze, of course, solutions do fall in. It's all about making that right conversation. It's all about making that right communication. Sometimes it may happen that you may hit a roadblock. You don't really know where to go beyond that, which is fair enough. But at least you kind of broke it down. And in all probability, if you have done that effectively, sooner or later, you are going to get your solution. It's just about that one moment or one instance that you have to wait for, where you get that that wow moment, that yes, this is something that I have been able to accomplish. But the process needs to be followed diligently. The second benefit that you definitely derive is helping in effectively meeting client requirements, which we have discussed. It involves a lot of prototyping. So when there is a lot of prototyping, you are basically improving and gauging, you're tuning yourself to the needs of the customer, that, hey, you know what, these are the challenges that we had. This is what we have done as a solution to them. Is this kind of working for you? If it is working for you, do you think you need any further improvements? What kind of improvements would you need? How is that going to help you accomplish your goal? So when we ask the right questions, when we have the right scenario built up for them, it triggers their thoughts, it triggers our thoughts. Together we become a team and we start doing that. So that is the second most important benefit. With a very defined designing approach, you will always be able to meet your client expectations. You will be directly involved in their design and development process, which will, like I said, help you trigger and become a team with them, rather than only thinking about how and what things will happen. The next important thing is expanding your knowledge with design thinking, because when I put myself in that process, I am now in a space where I will need to know more. I will need to arrange more. I will need to gather more. I will need to probably learn more. So it puts me into a situation where I do multiple evaluations. It doesn't stop there unless the delivery is complete. So I need to constantly keep looking at doing things, making myself a better person. And it helps me, right? We all love to become better than what we are. So design thinking helps you do that, because if you have to learn something, you learn it. You have to arrange something, you arrange it. There is something new that you do with everything that comes your way. And that makes it very, very important that when I involve myself in such a process, my design thinking constantly improves, because now I'm trying to understand the customers. And because I'm trying to understand the customers, I'll certainly figure out much more aspects, many more tools that I can use, and I can make things happen, and the delivery becomes more crisp and better and in time and to the exact precise need of what the customer is looking at. So always remember, friends, that we need to be very, very focused on this aspect and keep working around it. The next benefit that you definitely get is your feasibility check. What I mean to say is you kind of check the product future readiness. How will it function? How is it doing right now? Does it allow you, and it allows them to keep the end user in mind. So this is what my need is. Like I was speaking about an example of a website development. So how will I be able to work all this requirements out? How can I keep, giving good service to my customers even in the future, and I don't just stop here, and how can it become much more ready for the future? That is very, very important, and that needs to be kept in check. And there needs to be always that thought process that 5 years, 6 years, 10 years down the line, how am I going to function? How is it really going to help my customers? And then, of course, the next benefit is no alarms, no surprises, because generally we come across something that is we were not prepared for, probably. And the reason that happens more often than needed is because of the unpreparedness behind your thinking, because we probably failed to understand the precise need of the customer. We probably did not realize that these could be the challenges that could come our way, because there was no process of design thinking that we adopted. We did not break it down. We did not really get into the skin of things. And that's why somewhere things did not probably go the way it was expected to go. So in this kind of a process, the chances of you getting an alarm or a surprise is at its minimum, because then you have possibly talked about all the possibilities. Of course, you cannot be 100% sure and guaranteed about anything in life, but then at least you as a professional, with whatever is humanly possible, you can do that, right? You can get along, you can think through, you can break it down, you can think of scenarios. Your experience that you have had all these years as a professional, you put that to good use, because you need to recall of what challenges you had faced earlier. What was the situation then? How did you go about doing that? What were the things that worked in that favor? So on and so forth. So when you put your experience, you put this new design thinking process, you become better at giving solutions, and definitely the chances of having any kind of an alarm reduces significantly, so that it helps you become better. And finally, friends, it's about clarity and transparency. That's what is the key thing, right? When a customer or anybody who's interacting or dealing with you, when they start seeing that clarity and transparency coming your way, it builds immense amount of trust with you or your organization or your department, whatever you're representing. It builds immense amounts of trust, and that trust building is a big winner. It's a big thing to accomplish. So that clarity, that transparency organically starts coming in the way you deal with things, based on your ability to do that process diligently, based on your ability to break it down, to understand, to show the customer or to show the stakeholder or anybody who's there in front of you that, hey, you know what? I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I can do this. Let me build these solutions. These are the solutions I have. This is what we think we can do. Does this meet your requirement? Is it helping you accomplish your goals? And so on and so forth. So these steps are necessary to get that thing. Now here, friends, I would like to draw your attention to one very important thing. Am I a solution based individual, professional, company, organization, whatever I may be, or am I a problem oriented, or am I a solution oriented entity? Now, as the name suggests, we all know that solution based thinking focuses on finding solutions. And of course, problem based thinking is, kind of getting fixated on the obstacles and limitations that I may be having. So this is something that I have noticed even otherwise. We all do notice whenever you have a challenge in front of you, a problem in front of you, the one very important thing that we observe is there will be a set of people, excuse me, there will be a set of people who would get occupied in trying to, beat around the problem. Why it happened, who did it, when did it happen, why this had to happen, and the blame game begins. There's a lot of negative energy that floats around because we are caught up in that problem oriented approach, because we are trying to only focus on the problem. I am not saying that we shouldn't do the root cause of why things happened, but beyond that, we also have to think about what could be the solution. Let me come to the problem later, but let me first understand of how can I get this situation going? How can I come out of it? How can I make it better? What is the solution that I can take? What could be constructive enough to take a certain problem in a different way? And that is what is important. Now, to illustrate and to emphasize on what I'm trying to say, let me give you an example. There was a good example that were taken through these two approaches, the problem oriented or the solution oriented. It was a study that was carried out by Brian Lawson. He's a professor at the architecture at the University of Sheffield. Now, Lawson wanted to investigate how a group of designers and how a group of scientists would approach a particular problem. So what he did was he set each group the task of creating one layer structures from a set of colored blocks. Now, the perimeter of the structure had to use either as many red bricks or as many blue bricks as possible, but there were unspecified rules regarding the placement and the relationship of some of the blocks. So this was the challenge that he gave them. Now, what the findings that came across post this exercise that he gave them, he has published it in his book called How Designers Think. Now, in this challenge that he gave them, he observed that the scientists focused on identifying the problem. That is, they had a problem-based thinking, while the designers prioritized the need to find the right solutions. So the scientists were, they were dwelling on what the problem was and how it happened, while the designers, they prioritized to find the solution around it. So what did the scientists do? They adopted a technique of trying out a series of designs which used as many different blocks and combination of blocks as possible and as quickly as possible. Therefore, they tried to maximize the information available to them about the allowed combinations. So whatever was allowed, they tried to maximize it, understanding of what best can I do and get as many different blocks and combination of blocks as possible. Now, if they had the chance to discover the rule that governs the combination of blocks, they could then search for an arrangement which would optimize the required color around the layout. That was what they faced as a the response that they gave to this entire activity. Now, the designers, on the other hand, they selected their blocks in order to achieve the appropriately colored perimeter. They proved not to be an acceptable combination. If that proved not to be an acceptable combination, then they most favorably wanted the next colored block combination that could be substituted, and it went on until they found the right acceptable solution. So here, if you notice, friends, the designers jumped onto the solution approach, wherein they started to look for various combinations that they could make, and they kept on trying different combinations till they couldn't reach the required combination that was acceptable. Whereas the scientists, they were more focused on the combination of blocks and how can they see where the problem is and understand of how they can come out of it. So there is nothing right or wrong about it. It's just the approach that you build. So when you are faced with a certain challenge, when you are faced with a certain thing that comes across you, and it puts you into a spot, the first thing to understand is getting a know of the problem, understanding that yes, there is a problem. seeing that, okay, this is the reason why this happened, and then getting on to immediately working out the solutions rather than keeping ourselves only occupied with hunting and drilling and digging and thinking of the problem thing only. So this is one very important, it's the mindset. It's about the approach that you build. It's about the things that you think are necessary. Now friends, I would also highlight here what Harvard said or says about design thinking. They feel that to be successful, an innovation process must deliver three things. One, superior solutions, lower risk and cost of change. And your employee buy-in is, of course, very, very important. Now, when you talk about lower risk, you are reducing the risk automatically by breaking it down, understanding each aspect of the problem or the need, and then working out a solution around it. So like I said, there will be no alarms, no surprises. So of course, when you have that kind of a situation, you're automatically giving yourself an opportunity to lower your risk, right? Second is, of course, super solutions and superior solutions, my bad. So superior solutions, of course, are something that we need to work out. We are trying to, like I said earlier, you are not satisfying the customer, you're delighting them. You're making the experience better. You're making things better for them. You're trying to give them probably much more than they expected. So that is where your solutions come out. And again, when you break down things, it automatically triggers your thoughts. It automatically helps you become better. So that's why the superior solution is an important aspect. And the third thing is, of course, your employee buy-in. That's very important because if each one of us, whoever we are representing an organization, we need to ourselves realize the importance of it. Any kind of innovation works only when the team works around it. When you have that kind of a support system that supports your ideas, it helps you generate ideas. It helps you challenge the situations that may be there and build up those new solutions for your customers. So that is very, very important, and that's what was the take given by Harvard. Of course, they have a more elaborate one that they have published, but please understand that the common thing that is there and that needs to be really thought about is your ability to be able to break things down, empathize, define the problem, ideate about it, prototype it, and then test it. That is something that we need to do. Now, here, the word design that exists in design thinking is just about the concept that may be there. It's sometimes, like I said earlier, it misleads people to understand that it is something to do with a tech product or an engineering product. In fact, as has been mentioned, design thinking may refer to not only for an automotive industry, but it reflects for everyone. It reflects for a software development company, for a retail company, for all kind of companies, and for all stages of building a product. You could be in any one of these stages. You may be in the planning stage, you may be in that analysis stage, design stage, development stage, testing stage, or maintenance stage. It's a constant thing, which I had mentioned in the beginning of the class today, that each stage is important. Everywhere the design thinking concept, because it's a concept, it's a way of looking at things. Now if there are two athletes who are competing, and there is one athlete who is putting in regular hard work in his diet, in his fitness, in his mindset, positive mindset, in his overall lifestyle, he has more chances of succeeding than compared to an athlete who is only putting his entire energy and thing into just upskilling, or he's just putting himself into more of fitness goals that he's giving himself. So the chances of the one that does it completely as an entirety has more chances, because of course he is taking care of many other things which will not throw him in for a surprise, which will not alarm him at a later stage. So this is what we need to do. We need to frame a question, inspire my team to think about what solution are they looking for, try to gather inspiration of what I can do, generate ideas of how I can leverage on them, how I can make it better, making my ideas tangible, that is workable, basically, making it appropriate, practical for my customers, testing to see whether or not what I'm thinking is making sense. And finally, I share it, and it becomes a platform like Netflix did, Airbnb did, many such did. It becomes a story for people to learn from, to gain from, for basically setting the right example. That is very, very important, and I need to do that. Now, when we have uncertain times, we all face uncertain times. Of course, it's going to be some things are great, some things are not so great, and ups and downs will come. Like, unfortunately, the pandemic had hit us a few years back. None of us had even thought that there would be a time where the world would stop, but it happened, right? It was a brutal reality that we all were facing. Now, when these kind of uncertain times are there, it's all the more important to become conscious about your design thinking. That's a need that is there. It brings in a lot of changes in terms of customer behaviors and market performance, right? So we have to use that to our advantage. The problem now with most of us is that we become too busy in playing it safe. We try to avoid risk. We try to think that this may not be something that may go down well. This could be a dangerous move. So we play it super safe. We don't want to get on the wrong side of anything. We sometimes feel that, hey, you know what, just let this be as it is. The times are not good, let's not be. While that is true, I'm not saying that is not true, but it may not be applicable to everything that you do. That is where again your design thinking comes into play. That, let me break this down. What could be the risk? What are the levels of risk? What if I do it this way? What if I get this going? What if I have much more any kind of better mileage to this? Maybe I have not given it a thought, but when I put myself into that position or that situation, I could have disruptive success. And that's what disruptive success or disruptive mileage means. I am trying to break the status quo. I'm trying to break out of the situation that I may be in or we may be in. And most of the great things that have come up mostly in the disruptive times, and in uncertain times, the disruptive way it has come out. So those things need to be thought. The innovation needs to be there. That ability to think through needs to be there. And it's not an overnight process, friends. As we all know, it doesn't just happen. It's not a magic wand that, okay, let me go about it, and then you become superior or better at design thinking. It's a process. Every skill that you have learned until now in your life has come to you as a process. I have put myself in that situation. I have learned a thing or two. I have practiced that. I have become better. I move on to the next level. I again practice that. I become better. And that's how we all become knowledgeable. And that's how we become wiser, because we start to implement our knowledge in our work areas, in our personal lives. And that's where we become wiser and we contribute more in terms of doing the best that we can. And this is where you have to work. Focus on the problem. How do you go about implementing design thinking in your company or for your own areas of work that you may be working on? Focus on the problem. Try to solve the problem which are there. Identify some important tips that can be there. Like, for example, listening. We have already heard spoken about putting yourself in the shoes of your customers or your users. Listen to what they have to say. Ask what are the problems that they are facing. What have been the previous attempts that we have tried that failed to resolve the problem at hand. Have collaborative conversations, which we have spoken about. Work in, like, for example, working in cubicles is a trap, because that limits the conversations, in my opinion. So try and interact with, as an open discussion, open conversation with people, and be more accessible. Try to understand what each one has to say. How can we put this together? How will it make more sense? These things, they kind of create an importance. They create a vibe which makes more sense. It becomes much more of a meaning or a thing for your users, for your customers, and then solutions automatically come up. Stay impartial. Don't assume that you immediately understand the problem or the solution. With an open mind, you can find something that you did not expect. So there are things that we also may not know. We have to put ourselves in those shoes and see and understand. And trust me, there will be a moment when you say, oh, you know what, this is something I probably had not imagined. The second important thing is developing design thinking skills within your team. Encourage them to become better at what they do. Like what I have been saying, we say it to them that let's break it down. Let's think. Let's see what could be the new solutions that could come. Are there any better? Why go, why keep beating around the same path? Why can't we change, our gears and see what different can we do? Asking more questions that, hey, you know what? How can we make this better? Are there any possibilities? Are there any other companies in a similar situation? Has anybody else done something that I have not been able to achieve? There would be certain such answers that you will get to yourself, your team will get for themselves when I put or we put ourselves into that kind of a situation. So that is very, very important to understand. Asking more questions, developing those skills, focusing on the problems, having those open conversations, they trigger and they put you into a good space where you can for sure understand and come up with better design thinking or solutions for your customers. And of course, lastly, embrace the feedback. You have to seek feedback. When we seek feedback, we know how we are performing. Where are we going? What are we doing? Is it making sense? Is it helping us? Is the thing going in the right direction? So all of those things are very important, because the more we are aligned with our goals, the more we are aligned with the vision that we carry, the more it becomes of a comfort thing for us. And we are kind of given a validation that, hey, I am on the right track. We are on the right track. We are doing this in the right way. So that can only happen when I constantly have feedbacks coming my way. I keep talking, I keep analyzing. Now, friends, here I'll take a quick couple of minutes to explain, if all this is so there and if all this is so good, why is it that we are not being able to do that? The reason is because of the tech. One of the reasons, I must say, is the technological achievements, because we have started to believe that everything happens through technology. We look for answers in technology. We do not want this wired brain of ours, which is much more beyond technology, and this is the brain that has created technology. We don't rely much on this, how much we rely on the technology. So that's the first problem that hampers our creativity and our ability to think different. We don't plan things ahead. We expect technology to give us solutions. We need to put more into thinking. We need to ignite that creative thinking. And that is where I want to talk about a little on creative thinking. That at its core, what it means thinking intentionally, gaining new insights and different ideas through your existing information. It's about having those thoughts that involves into tapping your different styles of thinking. Over the years, I may have become repetitive with the way I may be thinking. Maybe I have had some good, bad, ugly experiences. So my thought process has suddenly become of that nature. I didn't even realize it. And because I did not realize it, organically, I make decisions based on those experiences, based on those things that I may have done. Now, here, I need to break through that mold. I need to break through that process, that kind of a prison that I have created, that mental prison that I have created for myself. And that can happen when I can easily go about thinking of how can I do this differently. It's about stepping back and seeing whether or not I can do that. And in all probability, you will be able to do that because you are giving yourself an opportunity to think differently. And that can happen when you trigger your thoughts. So friends, here the important question is, what would be the differentiation then in creative and design thinking? Are they the same thing? Are they the two sides of the same coin, or are they different? Now, basically, creativity is not just about generating new ideas. It is also about combining your existing ideas into a new and innovative way. I may be having something that I offer as a service. Can I package that a little more better so that it appears to customer as a valuable thing? I am not just putting it across as it is, I'm, embellishing it a little, maybe to an extent, and then I'm putting it across to my customers so that they have a wow factor that comes in their way. It's just making them feel better. It is just about giving them an opportunity to better their experiences with us. And whereas in design thinking, creativity, so design thinking is an umbrella under which creativity is used to explore and generate a wide range of solutions to a problem. Innovation, like design thinking, is about bringing new and creative ideas to life. So they go hand in hand. It's about putting yourself in the situation where you have design thinking, where you're breaking down the problem. And once you have the solutions that you're working out, you're also trying to put creativity into it to see of how I can put more value, put more substance into the solution to make this feel the customer experience better, make that customer experience better, make them feel something that it's great, it's nice, it's going, it's really something that they had not expected. So these things go hand in hand. They are certainly the two sides of the same coin. It's just about the approach that you build and the umbrella of design thinking under which you start doing your creativity. But how do you trigger that? Because that is essential for you to have that design thinking process formulated well. So how do you trigger that? So maybe, like I said earlier, changing the focus of your thinking, that I may have had a certain experience sometimes. It does not mean that every time I will have that experience. I could have a greater experience. I went for a certain, I went for dinner with my family. I went to a certain restaurant. It did not serve me well. There were some problems that happened. But because of that bad experience that I may have had, it does not mean that any other time I visit there or I visit any other restaurant, I may come across the same experience. It is not necessary. So let me change the focus of my thinking. Let me manifest positivity. Let me manifest the ability to have greater and better experience in my way out or in my experience that I have. So all those things I need to start changing. I need to change the focus. I need to become more positive, think positive, act positive. See what better can I do? Can I plan my outing? Can I plan things? Can I plan my customer experience? Can I plan my whatever things are required in order to get that thing going? And for that to happen, you need to break free from your limits. You cannot limit yourself to getting into a zone where you trap yourself in those limited thoughts that you may have. Just allow yourself to experience newness. Allow yourself to experience something that you have not done before. You are probably not aware of how much potential you carry for yourself. So unless you give yourself that opportunity, that will not really work. So break free from those limits. Use unrelated data if required, to trigger your thoughts. It may be something not directly related to your scheme of things or your industry. But if you look at parallel examples that may have happened anywhere else, you will definitely get an idea that, oh, you know what, this thing has really helped me shape up in this. How can I get better at doing something different? And that becomes a reason for you to break limits in other areas also, and in your area specifically. And lastly, friends, looking beyond alternatives. Remember, whatever comes to me naturally as a solution is a result of my experience, it's a result of my knowledge, it's a result of what I have accomplished so far as a professional. So that is certainly good, right, effective, and very productive way of doing things. But can that become better? I should even think about how can I make that better? Can there be possible alternatives? If I do it in a certain other way, can I accomplish something? If I put this thing in a new form, can that add more value? So those are the questions I need to ask. And whatever knowledge I have gained, whatever experience I have gained, whatever I think I have on my plate today, can I better that thing by putting into a new thing? Maybe I need to learn a new skill. I should. Maybe I need to talk to a few people. I should. Maybe I need concurrence with different departments. I should. Whatever it takes me to kind of break that mold that I am surrounded with, I should just do what it takes to make it happen. And things definitely then move on and become better. Lastly, friends, if you think good design is expensive, you should look at the cost of bad design. And of course, creativity is seeing what everyone else has seen and thinking what no one else has thought. And finally, design thinking, guys, is the essential ability to remember, to combine empathy, creativity, and nationality to meet your user needs and drive your business success. That is very, very important. Uh, since we had, paucity of time, limitation of time, so I have tried to keep this, small. And of course, it's a big, huge topic, but not that it is something very, it's not a rocket science. So I've tried to simplify whatever I think I could in this 1 hour that we had, but I hope it made sense. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to, answer them for you. But thank you for being here today and patiently listening. I hope this made some sense to you guys. And like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And do work on your design thinking abilities. You are great. You are good. I'm sure you're going to do much better should you put yourself in that approach. So thank you once again. And if you have anything for me, I'll be very happy to talk it out right here, right now.
Thanks, Mehul. Thanks for covering such a vast topic in a short period of time, and being at least gets people thinking on different directions. I do want to quickly share some resources before we open up for questions. So let me share the screen. I've posted some links in the chat, folks. So as we said, like, this is part of our series. The first link which we have shared is several meetup groups which we have, whether it is big data, artificial intelligence, some of the cloud related ones. We are partnered with Google, and they have Google developer groups. So we are official partners of that. So if you're related to cloud or Google related stuff, then we have programming and technical prep related stuff, meetup groups, and then there's the Azure Bay Area tech. Most of the things happen online, like the way we are doing today. So those, feel free to join whichever group makes sense for you. All the links have been posted in the chat. This is our next webinar, which is coming up soon. Typically, we do once in a month, but January we had a little hiccup, so we just brought in February a couple of them. So introduction to generative AI, which is a very popular topic. So that's on 15th of February. So if you're interested, please join that one. All those links are there. This particular recording will be posted in our YouTube channel. So I have given the link for that as well. So you can get access to that recording as well. We do have, most of our trainings are focused to corporates and B2B, where their staff or trainings happens to a particular corporates, but we do have certain public offerings. So if you go to our website and go to public, and the link also is posted, you could join the critical thinking and some of the topics which are extension, but a lot of the technical topics are there. We're continuously trying to expand our equipment. Then we have some on-demand trainings, and several of them free ones are available as well. So those are some resources which I wanted to share before we bring into closure for this. Thank you today for joining. I'm going to quickly open up for Q&A, but thank you, Mehul. Thank you for taking this session and giving us the vast knowledge on this in a short period of time. Thank you.